Is the upkeep on Graceland terribly draining on the estate?
Very much so. Absolutely. This has been a major point.
Something strange is happening at Graceland, and this time, it's centered around Elvis Presley's tomb. Recent reports reveal that the gravesite may not be as secure as people believed. Experts have made a disturbing discovery in Meditation Garden that's raising serious questions about the king's final resting place. The site that draws thousands of fans each year could now face a major crisis as strange activities have sparked fear and mystery among those who witnessed it. Join us as we find out what is really going on in the king's final resting place and how this affects his legacy. A disturbance in Elvis's resting place. One fateful day at Graceland, a security guard began his usual walk through the property grounds, checking the gates and paths that thousands of visitors walk every day. The sun was just coming up over the famous mansion and everything seemed normal, but when Michael reached the meditation garden, something caught his eye. The ground near Elvis Presley's grave looked different. Small cracks had appeared in the marble stones overnight. The guard stopped walking and stood completely still, his eyes focused on the patterns spreading across the surface. These marks were definitely new. He had never seen anything like this before in all his years working at Graceland. The security personnel moved closer to inspect the area around the tomb. The cracks were not there the day before. He had walked this same path for 5 years and knew every inch of the memorial. His heart started beating faster as he noticed the patterns in the stone. They looked like spiderweb lines spreading out from the center. Something was clearly wrong beneath the surface. He immediately radioed the main office to report what he found. The person on the other end told him to stay exactly where he was. Help would arrive within minutes to assess the situation. Within 20 minutes, the property manager arrived at the meditation garden. She brought 2 other senior staff members with her. They stood around the gravesite examining the new cracks. One of them took photos with his phone. Another started measuring the width of the lines with a ruler. The damage was not major yet, but it was definitely real. Nobody could explain how it happened so suddenly. The team decided this was serious enough to close the garden to visitors. They needed to figure out what was causing this problem. The last thing anyone wanted was for the situation to get worse. Protecting Elvis's final resting place was their most important responsibility. By noon, Graceland officials had called in structural engineers from Memphis. These experts specialized in historic buildings and monuments. They arrived with equipment to scan beneath the ground. The engineers set up sensors around the entire memorial area. They used special cameras that could see through soil and rock. The staff watched nervously as the experts worked. Every employee knew how important this place was to millions of fans worldwide. If something serious was wrong, the news would spread across the globe. Fans would be heartbroken to learn that Elvis's grave might be in danger. The pressure to find answers quickly was real. The engineers worked through the afternoon taking measurements and readings. They drilled small holes to check the foundation underneath. Test samples of soil and water were collected in plastic containers. The team spoke quietly among themselves as they reviewed their findings. Their faces grew more concerned as the hours passed. By evening, they asked for permission to bring in more equipment the next day. The initial results suggested problems that were bigger than simple surface cracks. Something deep underground was affecting the entire memorial structure. More detailed testing would be needed to understand the full extent of the damage. News travels fast in a place like Graceland. Workers throughout the property heard whispers about problems at the grave. Tour guides started getting questions from visitors who noticed the garden was closed. The gift shop staff fielded calls from worried fans. Everyone wanted to know what was happening. Finally, the management decided they could not keep this quiet much longer. They needed to make some kind of announcement soon, but first they had to understand exactly what they were dealing with. Making people panic without having facts would help nobody. The officials agreed to wait for the complete engineering report before saying anything publicly. The next morning brought more experts to the property. Geologists arrived to study the ground conditions. Construction engineers came to review the original construction plans from 1977. Water specialists tested the underground drainage systems. The meditation garden became a hub of scientific activity. White tents were set up to protect the equipment. Yellow caution tape surrounded the work area. It looked like a crime scene investigation. Employees walked past the garden and felt their stomachs twist with worry. This was clearly much more serious than anyone first thought. After 3 days of testing and analysis, the experts gathered for a meeting. They presented their findings to Graceland management in a private conference room. The news was not good. The problems were bigger than anyone expected. Immediate action would be required to prevent further damage. The officials knew they could no longer delay telling the public. Fans deserved to know the truth about what was happening. A press conference was scheduled for the following week. The announcement would shock Elvis fans around the entire world. Nobody could have predicted that the King's final resting place would face such a serious threat. The cracks near Elvis's grave were no longer just lines, but a growing concern. Everyone was waiting for answers, unsure of what the reports would reveal. The cracks in the marble were warnings that beneath the beauty of Elvis's resting place, something was shifting. And soon, the world would learn what had been hidden under the King's grave. Elvis's final resting place. The meditation garden sits on the south side of the Graceland mansion. Elvis designed this peaceful space himself back in 1965. He wanted a quiet place to think and relax away from the crowds. The garden features a circular swimming pool surrounded by tall trees. Stone benches line the curved walkways throughout the area. Elvis often came here alone during his life to find peace and calm. He would sit for hours just thinking about his music and his life. The garden was his private escape from the chaos of fame. Friends remember seeing him there at sunrise, just watching the day begin. This special place held deep meaning for Elvis long before it became his burial site. When Elvis passed away on August 16, 1977, the world went into mourning. Fans gathered outside Graceland by the thousands. People flew in from every corner of the planet to pay respects. The funeral was held at Graceland with family and close friends. Afterward, Elvis was buried at Forest Hill Cemetery in Memphis, where his mother Gladys was already resting. However, the decision turned out to be a problem almost immediately. The cemetery became packed with grieving fans day and night. Roads leading to the burial site were jammed with cars. People walked for miles just to stand near the grave. The outpouring of love was unlike anything the city had ever witnessed. Crowds of people surrounded the grave at all hours. Some fans tried to climb the fence to get closer. Others attempted to take pieces of flowers and decorations. The cemetery workers struggled to maintain order and respect. Even security guards could not control the massive numbers. The situation became dangerous and unpredictable for everyone involved. Vernon Presley visited the grave daily and saw the chaos firsthand. He worried constantly about the safety of his son's resting place. Just 2 months after the funeral, something terrible almost happened. 3 men were caught trying to steal Elvis's body from the tomb. Police arrested them before they could complete their plan. This shocking incident terrified the Presley family. That was when the family decided that they needed a better solution to protect Elvis. Vernon Presley immediately began making arrangements to move his son. He decided Elvis should be brought home to Graceland, where security was better. The family could watch over him properly on their own property. No strangers would be able to threaten the grave again. Elvis's father was determined to bring his boy home where he belonged. The family requested permission from Memphis city officials to bury Elvis on private property. This was not normally allowed under local laws, but the officials understood the unique circumstances and security concerns, so they granted special approval for the reburial at Graceland. Vernon felt relief knowing Elvis would finally be safe. The garden Elvis loved so much would become his eternal home. Workers transformed the peaceful garden into a memorial site. The entire Presley family would eventually rest together in the meditation garden. It would become their permanent family cemetery. There in the garden, the centerpiece of the memorial is a beautiful fountain system. Water flows continuously in remembrance of Elvis's eternal spirit. An eternal flame burns day and night beside the graves. They installed 4 burial places in a semicircle arrangement. Each grave was marked with a bronze plaque set in smooth marble. Elvis's marker sits in the center position between his mother and father. His grandmother Minnie Mae rests nearby. A curved stone wall was built behind the graves with elegant columns. The design was simple but beautiful. Everything reflected the dignity that Elvis deserved. No expense was spared in creating a proper memorial. Fresh flower arrangements are placed there every single morning. The groundskeepers maintain the garden with meticulous care and attention. Everything must be perfect for the fans who come to visit. Leaves are swept away as soon as they fall. Grass is trimmed to exact heights. The marble is cleaned until it shines. All these showed how workers take pride in caring for this sacred space. Till today, the meditation garden stands as more than a resting place. It is a symbol of devotion that never fades. Every petal, every whispered prayer keeps Elvis's memory alive. Though decades have passed, the garden still echoes with his spirit, reminding the world that legends never truly leave. Since 1977, over 20 million people have visited Elvis's grave at Graceland. The meditation garden is the most popular spot on the entire property. Visitors come from Japan, Australia, Brazil, England, and many other countries. They bring flowers, stuffed animals, letters, and photos. Some people pray quietly while others cry openly. The garden has become a sacred place where fans connect with their hero. Many visitors return year after year to pay their respects. Some have been coming for decades without missing a single anniversary. The memorial means everything to people who loved Elvis. This makes any threat to the tomb incredibly serious for everyone who loves Elvis Presley. The thought of damage to this special place breaks the hearts of millions around the world. The warning signs. Strange things began happening around the meditation garden 6 months before the official announcement was made. One of the maintenance workers noticed the ground felt softer than usual. It hadn't been that way before. But recently, during his walk every morning down the same paths to clean and inspect the area, his feet would sink slightly into spots that used to be firm. At first, he thought heavy rain had made the soil loose, but the soft spots remained even during dry weather periods. He mentioned this to his supervisor during their weekly meeting. They both agreed to keep watching the situation. Nobody wanted to cause alarm over something that might be nothing, but the staff could not shake the feeling that something was happening underneath the garden. The landscaping crew reported problems with the grass near the memorial. Certain sections turned brown and withered without explanation. They replaced the dead grass multiple times throughout the winter. Each time, the new grass would fade again within weeks. The crew tested the soil for chemicals or disease. Nothing showed up in the laboratory results. The grass simply would not grow in those specific locations around the tomb. The head gardener had worked at Graceland for 15 years. He had never encountered this problem before in any part of the property. The dead patches appeared in a pattern around the graves. This suggested something systematic was happening underground. The crew started documenting every location where grass refused to grow, in order for them to map out the affected area. Night security guards started hearing unusual sounds coming from the garden area. The noises happened mostly between midnight and 4 in the morning. Guards described them as low creaking or groaning sounds. Some compared it to old wood settling in a house. Others thought it sounded like rocks grinding together underground. The sounds were never loud enough to record clearly. What made it more serious was that multiple guards heard them on different nights over several months. One guard even refused to patrol that area alone anymore. He told his colleagues the sounds gave him a scary feeling. Other guards laughed at first, but eventually admitted they heard the noises too. Something was definitely making those sounds. The question was what and why. Temperature readings around the tomb showed bizarre patterns throughout January and February. Groundskeepers installed sensors to monitor conditions for the plants and flowers. The devices recorded cold spots that should not exist. Some areas measured 15 degrees colder than surrounding spaces. The temperature differences made no scientific sense. Heat lamps were brought in to protect the flowers, but the cold spots remained in the same locations night after night. The sensors were checked multiple times to make sure they worked properly. Every test confirmed the equipment was functioning correctly. Still, the cold spots were real and unexplainable. Scientists suggested that these temperature changes indicated underground water movement. Small items around the memorial began shifting position without explanation. Flower arrangements would be slightly moved by morning. Stone decorations appeared turned at different angles. The eternal flame holder had rotated several inches from its original spot. When the security cameras were checked, it showed nobody entering the garden overnight. Meanwhile, the wind could not move such heavy objects. Soon, staff members started feeling terrified about working in the area after dark. Some employees asked to change their shifts to avoid the garden. Management tried to calm everyone down and find logical explanations, but nobody could explain how heavy stone objects were moving on their own. And so the mystery deepened with each passing week. Water began appearing on the marble surfaces where none should exist. Groundskeepers would arrive each morning to find puddles near the graves. The water was not from rain or sprinklers. It seemed to seep up through the stone itself. Workers would dry the marble completely before leaving each evening. However, by dawn, the water had returned to the same spots. Tests revealed the liquid was groundwater mixed with minerals from deep underground. This discovery alarmed the maintenance supervisor greatly. Groundwater should not be reaching the surface at all. The memorial was built with proper drainage to prevent exactly this problem. Something had changed in the ground beneath, and it was reflecting above. The bronze plaques on the graves started showing signs of corrosion. These markers had remained perfect for over 40 years. Now green and black spots appeared on the metal surfaces. Professional cleaners tried to remove the stains. The corrosion returned within days of each cleaning. Chemical analysis showed unusual mineral deposits forming on the bronze. The minerals were coming from the groundwater that kept appearing. This meant the water was touching the metal regularly. Something in the environment had changed dramatically in recent months. As it went on, the management kept detailed logs of every strange occurrence. They wanted to establish patterns before raising alarms. The incidents seemed to increase in frequency each week. By late February, something unusual happened almost daily. Officials could no longer dismiss these events as coincidence. They realized the meditation garden was experiencing serious problems. The tomb itself might be in danger. Professional help needed to be called in immediately before conditions got worse. Whatever was happening underground was no longer a mystery. It was a warning. Experts soon arrived to investigate, uncovering what years of routine care had hidden beneath the surface. Every reading, every trace of mineral, and every movement pointed to one chilling truth. Something deep below the meditation garden had shifted. The warning signs had been building for months. Now it was time to find out what was really happening. What the findings revealed. The geological survey team used ground-penetrating radar to examine beneath the meditation garden. Their equipment sent electronic pulses deep into the earth. Computer screens displayed images of what lay underground. The engineers expected to see solid bedrock supporting the memorial foundation. Instead, they discovered large hollow spaces beneath the graves. Empty cavities had formed in the limestone layer over many years. The voids were growing larger as underground water eroded the rock. The team leader had surveyed hundreds of sites during his career. He had never seen erosion this extensive under a memorial. The images showed cavities large enough for a person to crawl through. These empty spaces were directly below Elvis's grave. Memphis sits on top of ancient aquifers and underground water systems. These natural formations date back millions of years. The limestone bedrock contains countless channels where water flows. Over time, water dissolves the soft stone and creates caves. Many areas of Memphis have experienced sinkhole problems. The ground can suddenly collapse when underground support disappears. The meditation garden was now facing this exact threat. Local geologists were not surprised by the findings. They knew the entire region sat on unstable limestone. What surprised them was how quickly the erosion had progressed. The voids had grown significantly just in the past 5 years. Engineers discovered that water pressure had increased dramatically in recent months. Memphis received unusually heavy rainfall throughout the previous winter. The extra water saturated the ground and filled the underground channels. Pressure built up beneath the memorial site. The water was pushing upward against the foundation, slowly eroding the cement and stone that supported the graves. The damage had been happening gradually for quite some time. Weather records showed rainfall amounts had increased 20% over the past decade. Climate patterns were changing in ways nobody predicted back in 1977. The memorial was built for normal conditions. It could not handle these new extreme weather events. Structural analysis revealed cracks in the concrete foundation beneath the marble. The foundation was poured in 1977 using methods common at that time. Modern construction techniques are much better at handling water and soil movement. The original builders could not predict future problems with groundwater. They created a solid foundation for normal conditions, but they did not account for extreme weather changes decades later. Engineers found multiple stress points where the concrete was failing, and some cracks ran several feet in length. The foundation was still holding, but would not last much longer. Failure could happen suddenly without warning. Soil samples showed evidence of subsidence occurring around the memorial, which means the ground is slowly sinking in certain areas. This happens when underground support material disappears or compresses. The meditation garden was sinking about 1 inch per year. Most people would never notice such gradual movement, but over 47 years, the total drop was significant. The uneven settling caused stress fractures throughout the structure. Some areas had sunk more than others. This created tension that pulled the foundation apart. The marble on top showed the visible results of this underground movement. Water quality tests revealed high mineral content in the groundwater. The water contained calcium, magnesium, and other dissolved substances. These minerals were crystallizing inside tiny cracks in the concrete. As crystals formed, they expanded and pushed the cracks wider. This process is very similar to how ice breaks apart rocks. The mineral buildup was destroying the foundation from within. It would continue getting worse without intervention. Chemical engineers estimated the crystallization process had been happening for at least 10 years. The damage was now reaching a critical point. Soon the crystals would compromise the structural integrity completely. The marble stones on top also showed signs of damage. Moisture from below was seeping through the foundation into the marble. The stone absorbed water like a sponge. During cold weather, the water froze and expanded. This caused the spiderweb cracks that security first noticed. The freeze-thaw cycle was breaking down the beautiful marble surface. The memorial was being attacked from both above and below. Winter temperatures in Memphis regularly dropped below freezing. Each cold night caused more damage. The marble would eventually crumble if it continued. Engineers calculated that major structural failure could happen within 5 years. The graves might collapse into the hollow spaces beneath them. Preventing this would require extensive underground work. The entire foundation needed to be reinforced or rebuilt. Drainage systems must redirect water away from the area. Grouting would fill the voids under the memorial. The project would take months to complete properly. Work would need to begin as soon as possible to save Elvis's final resting place. The engineering report presented 3 different repair options. All of them were expensive and complicated, but doing nothing was not an option. The king's grave had to be protected. The report ended with a clear warning. Time was running out. Without immediate repair, the ground beneath the meditation garden could give way. Engineers urged quick action to save the site. Every delay increased the risk. The future of Elvis Presley's final resting place now depended on what happened next. The fate of the King's Memorial. Graceland officials developed a comprehensive restoration plan after reviewing the engineering reports. The first step involves installing temporary support structures around the entire memorial. Steel beams will hold everything in place during the construction work. These supports will prevent any collapse while repairs happen underground. Workers will construct a protective shelter over the graves. This weatherproof covering will keep rain away from the damaged areas. The shelter will also give workers space to operate regardless of weather conditions. Construction can continue through rain, heat, and cold. Time is critical, so work cannot stop due to bad weather. The temporary structures will remain until all repairs are completely finished. The restoration team must pump specialized grout into the hollow spaces beneath the garden. This thick, liquid concrete mixture will fill all the voids under the foundation. Hundreds of gallons will be injected through deep boreholes. The grout will harden and create solid support where erosion created empty space. This process is called ground stabilization. It has successfully saved historic buildings and monuments worldwide. The technique will stop further sinking at the memorial site. Engineers will drill holes at strategic points around the graves. Pressure pumps will force grout deep into the limestone cavities. Sensors will monitor the filling process to ensure complete coverage. The grout takes several days to cure and reach full strength. A completely new drainage system will redirect water away from the meditation garden. Engineers designed an underground network of pipes and channels. These will collect groundwater before it reaches the memorial area. The water will flow to a different part of the property. Special waterproof barriers will surround the foundation like a protective shell. Modern materials will prevent moisture from seeping through stone and concrete. These improvements will protect the graves for another 100 years. The drainage system includes backup pumps in case of equipment failure. Smart sensors will alert staff immediately if water levels rise. The entire system can be monitored remotely from the main office. No water will ever threaten the memorial again. The marble surfaces will undergo careful restoration by master stone craftsmen. Each piece will be photographed and documented before removal. Workers will number every stone to remember its exact position. Damaged sections will be replaced with matching marble from the same quarry. The bronze plaques will be professionally cleaned and treated. A protective coating will prevent future corrosion and staining. Everything will look exactly as it did originally. The craftsmen would come from Italy, where marble restoration is an ancient art. They have restored monuments throughout Europe. Their work will be invisible to visitors. The memorial will appear untouched and perfect. Only experts will know the extensive repairs that were performed. The entire restoration project will cost approximately $4 million. Graceland Management secured funding through the Elvis Presley estate. They also received donations from fan clubs around the world. Many devoted fans wanted to contribute to protecting Elvis's grave. The overwhelming support from fans showed just how much Elvis means to them. The money will cover all engineering work, materials, and labor costs. Historic preservation experts will oversee every phase of construction. The budget includes contingency funds for unexpected problems. Underground work often reveals surprises that must be addressed. Having extra money available prevents delays. Every dollar will be spent protecting Elvis's legacy. The meditation garden will remain closed to visitors for approximately 8 months. This represents the first extended closure since Elvis was buried there. Tour groups will view the area from a distance behind temporary barriers. Information displays will explain the restoration work to curious fans. Video screens will show live footage from inside the construction zone, so visitors can watch progress happening in real time during their tours. Graceland Management wants fans to understand why the closure is necessary. They created a special exhibit about the restoration project. Photos and videos document every stage of the work. Fans can learn about the engineering challenges and solutions. This turns a difficult situation into an educational opportunity. The Presley family released a statement expressing gratitude for the quick response. Lisa Marie Presley's daughters continue protecting their grandfather's legacy. They approved every aspect of the restoration plan. The family understands that fans need time to process this news because many people feel personally connected to Elvis's final resting place. Meanwhile, the family promised that the memorial will emerge stronger than ever before. This situation highlights the ongoing challenges of preserving historic sites. Graceland receives over 600,000 visitors annually. The property requires constant maintenance and careful management. Climate change brings more extreme weather patterns to Memphis. Rising temperatures and unusual rainfall create new problems. Therefore, historic locations must adapt to these changing environmental conditions. When the restoration finishes, the meditation garden will feature improved security monitoring. New sensors will track moisture levels, temperature, and ground movement. Computer systems will provide early warning of future issues. Elvis's grave will remain safe and beautiful for generations of fans still to come. A place where the king will rest peacefully forever. When the final phase ends, Graceland will reopen with renewed strength and beauty. Beneath the familiar marble lies a foundation rebuilt to endure time itself. What was once a hidden danger has become a story of preservation. Elvis's resting place will stand secure, a lasting tribute to his enduring legacy. What are your thoughts on the recent development at Elvis Presley's gravesite? Let us know your views in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.